From Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation, it's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Chanukah Joy. What's the nature of the obligation to rejoice on Chanukah? Perhaps through this discussion, we can understand what is joy altogether. What is happiness? If we look in the Gemara, it says that they instituted that these should be Yamim Tovim B'Halel V'Hoda'ah. They should be good days. Now, of course, the expression Yom Tov is a technical expression. It doesn't mean you can't work, as Rashi says. We do work on Chanukah. What does it mean? Yomim Tovim B'Halel V'Hoda'ah. Rashi says it's a Yom Tov inasmuch as there's thanksgiving. As you say the Hallel, the Psalms of Thanksgiving. As you thank God during the benching, the Birkat Hamazon, the grace after meals, you thank God for the miracles. So if we ask, according to Rashi, what is the joy of Chanukah? It's not a joy of hurrah, yip yip, hooray. It's not the joy of eating meat and drinking wine, which is the way we express joy on a holiday. It's not the joy of taking a day off. It's the joy of thanksgiving. Through being thankful, we come to happiness. Ezehu ashir hasamech b'chalko, who is a wealthy person, someone who's happy with what he has. Correlate would be he who is happy with what they have. He who is thankful is a wealthy person, is a person who can truly feel good about themselves. So that's the first view of joy on this holiday. Now, you could say that it's sort of a negative joy, meaning it's not that we're supposed to jump up and down with joy, but rather we have to refrain from certain things. We have to refrain from eulogies, from fasting. If you had a particular reason to fast, some fast on their yurtzeit. You don't fast during this time. If there's, God forbid, a funeral, not supposed to really give eulogies at all. Maybe certain exceptions. Basically, to refrain or curtail eulogies. So maybe the joy is expressed in avoiding certain sad things. Maybe that's one definition of joy, sort of a minimal definition, that you refrain from certain things that do make you sad. That's how we bring joy. Clearly, as Rabbi Sobolovsky points out, clearly that the joy is not of the nature that cancels any sort of shiva, because the shiva goes on exactly as it always does. Some have suggested that the joy is actually that which comes from Hallel. You see, usually we say, well, you have an obligation to be happy, v'samachta b'chagecha, and if you're happy, you should thank God for it with Hallel. On Chanukah, it's sort of the opposite direction. We have an obligation of Hallel, of thanksgiving, and that thanksgiving should lead to joy. Some want to suggest that the obligation of Hallel must come from an obligation of joy, and that there is indeed an obligation of joy. The Rambam, in fact, says that these days should be Yemei Simcha v'Hallel, days of Simcha, of joy, and also Hallel, thanksgiving. Somehow he thinks that it starts with an obligation of joy. From joy we come to thanksgiving. But it's another interesting suggestion to say that this particular joy starts with thanksgiving and then it comes to joy. Sometimes we don't feel like being happy, but if through thankfulness, maybe we can come to some sort of joy. The Ramah mentions that really the joy of Chanukah comes from somewhere else. It's not because of the miracle of the oil. The joy of Chanukah comes from the fact that these were days of dedication. We know that when they dedicated the tabernacle, they had an 8-day dedication. When they dedicated the sanctuary in the days of Solomon, they had a 7-day dedication. There was a dedication. And those dedications engender joy. And Rabbi Sobolovsky says, why is it that there's so much joy for that? Because to dedicate a temple means that God is going to be with you. Shachanti b'tocham, God dwells among us. It means that we'll be gathering as a people, coming together to one place in Jerusalem. Everyone streaming from all over Israel to come to Jerusalem. That's a source of joy. Mentions the Emek Davar, the Harchev Davar, the Netziv, who says that the real joy is the presence of God. But today we don't have a temple. We don't have the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, Beis HaMikdash, but what God does leave for us is, says the Gemara in Brachos 8a, leaves for us the realm of Torah. That through Torah, we can still bring the divine presence. You know where joy comes from? Joy comes from feeling the divine presence. You say, what does that mean? Sometimes we just go through life and we feel like we're alone. We feel like we did it all. Feeling of companionship, that God is with us, whether in good times, bad times. Feeling that we're not alone, the feeling that God cares, the warm feeling of being embraced by God. This is joy. Joy is being with God. That's expressed through the temple. This is a celebration of the temple. And in that sense, this is a holiday that brings joy, the joy of knowing that we're with God. What is joy on Chanukah? What's the Chanukah joy? Is it the joy that comes through being thankful? Is it the joy which leads to being thankful? Is it the idea of the dedication and the closeness with God? But in any event, we have all these opportunities. We can be thankful. We can be joyous and then lead to being thankful. We can appreciate how God is with us. And all these things can bring us greater joy. But one thing's for sure, Chanukah is not just about the joy of Chanukah itself. Chanukah is a launch pad. Rosh Hashanah launched us into these months. Now we need to relaunch our Judaism, to rekindle our flames here at this time of Chanukah. And that launches us into the rest of the year. Hopefully we can take some of the joy of Chanukah, the joy of Thanksgiving, the joy of the presence of God, and bring that into the year to rededicate ourselves, to rekindle that sense within ourselves that God is with us, that we have what to be thankful about. And through that, hopefully, can bring us true joy. Thank you for joining us here at the Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation here in Memphis, Tennessee, to discuss this week's holiday, Chanukah. Join us each week for a discussion of the Parsha and the various holidays. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit ASBEE.org.